Hello, hello. We're going live. We're going live. Good evening, good morning, good day, wherever you are at. Happy Thursday. Yes, we are doing this. We are doing this a day early because friends coming into town, big family to do, and I'm also a little bit late because I had an accident with some soup, some delicious soup, but an accident nonetheless. So that's why we're getting started just a wee bit late here. Let me make sure the fine. Yes, it is. Woohoo. Wunderbar. That's what we like to see. And we already got some comments right here. Did you see the comment I made that Hasbin Hotel won an Astra award? Yeah, I also saw that a lot of people were like, wait, what? Hasbin Hotel had beaten other shows. It's like, wait a second, but Hasbin Hotel was not this year. Where Lorraine says, happy early Friday. Yes, happy early Friday. And Arts is here as well. Howdy. Great to have you here. And I am most excited tonight because, this is going to be something I haven't really done before, but I'm really excited to do this. And that is diving into the music of Deltarune, specifically the music that will help us to find Des. And not just simply say, this is where she is in the code, because I don't think we're yet there that we can actually say that. And hey, Wonder, great to have you here. But what we're aiming to do is we are aiming to find how Des has influenced the story of Deltarune and how the characters in the game as well cause her theme to evolve. And as her theme is evolving throughout the story, we get an idea of not just who Des is, but who these characters are. It's the music that helps to cement their growth, as well as underscore what I would argue is Chris's main objective throughout Deltarune, and that is to find Des Holiday. There's a whole lot more there's a whole lot more in Deltarune, especially by the end of chapter 5, that's going on. But initially speaking, I would make the argument that Chris got into this specifically to help save Des, and the music itself, I argue, reflects that. So we're going to go through an adventure in music tonight, and to help me build up this theory, and then as well to put that theory into practice and show how the music evolves throughout the game, and how the evolution of the music helps to firmly cement the growth of our main characters, as well as better plot out how they are growing. Because obviously there's character development in the game, but exactly where our characters are going might be a little bit difficult to tell until we dive into the music itself. Art says music is the sound that accompanies popular media such as movies and cartoons. Yes, and as I put in the description for this live stream, music as an element of storytelling is normally not addressed outside of like musical theater, obviously, and then looking at movie and show soundtracks. But then again, only if that movie or that show really makes an excellent use of its music. A really good example of this would be The Lord of the Rings. And actually, I should pull up for funsies. I will not actually I will not actually play the music, because I know then that this stream will get copyright struck, might even get blocked all of a sudden if I were to play the music. How Howard Shore makes us feel. Oh, how does Howard Shore make you feel? But there is a phenomenal channel called Listening In, which I don't know if the guy is still actually doing much these days, but he had an amazing little mini series of videos on the music for the Lord of the Rings, and that was actually one of the things that kind of like gave me a little bit, helped me to feel a little more inspired to sometimes look at the music in other stories, as well as eventually to come to this point and be like, oh yeah, yeah, let's see, let's see what the music has to tell us. Also, within the game, the music for the music for when you battle Pink really changed some things for me. Because looking a little bit more into the music for that particular fight and what the fight itself symbolizes, I was like, wait a second. Oh my gosh, this like changes everything. So there will be a future video where we'll actually dive into that particular revelation. I am holding on to that, not using it for a live stream, because I want that video to be very well produced, at least as well produced as I can make it, because it is a seriously cool revelation. That Orion says, I heard that Deltarune might be a looping timeline, and the world revolving song was also a hint towards it. What do you think? I don't think it is a looping timeline. And actually, when you asked me for like the world revolving, again, the battle with Pink changed a lot of things for me. Like once I looked at the music, and this is one of the reasons why I've reached out to someone who knows way more about music than I do, to get her feedback on some of the music in Deltarune. And so I hope to be able to collaborate with her a little bit more, so that way I can firmly piece together what I see happening in the game, what the storytelling through the music is telling us in the game. And what I'll say is that the world revolving, that song is insanely important to helping us understand an aspect of the game, but it doesn't have to do with a time loop. Rather, instead, the world revolving is a brilliant. It is, I would argue, as someone who has not studied music, I will argue that the world revolving is a masterpiece. Is a masterpiece in character study, specifically of 3 characters. And I just gotta say, that's going to be for that upcoming music analysis video when I dive further into the world revolving. Because again, looking back at Pink's battle music, and then retracing my steps, it just changes everything. Holy cow. Or says, when you hear the Lord of the Rings soundtrack, you know it is the Lord of the Rings soundtrack. Exactly. You can recall the climax of BTTF by the particular song. And music is about storytelling, visual media. It absolutely is. Yeah, a movie without a soundtrack or with very minimal soundtrack is either very boring or very creepy. Or moving pictures media, perhaps, is what we should call it. I'll have a budget of 250 million, and Robert Downey Jr. will voice the video for 35 seconds. That's how much we have to pay to get Robert Downey Jr. to do this. Kill Lars is here. A surprise Thursday stream, eh? But as said already, music and motifs are important to good audiovisual media. It can elevate even mediocre writing to outstanding experiences. Yes, there's an 80s movie that I saw for the first time last year, which is like some crazy spacefaring fantasy story with an utterly ridiculous weapon for the main character. That movie has some of the worst dialogue and worst action scenes, but the music goes so hard that you can't help but feel like excited or in the moment. All right, let me real quickly here, just for funsies. I'm going to share my screen so that way I can. I'm going to do the entire screen, but I'm not going to do audio because I do not want to get and copyright struck by there you go, Eternal Swirl Time, because I do not want to get copyright struck by Warner Brothers for this. But this channel right here, listening in, absolutely worth it. I love his I love his breakdowns of the music in the Lord of the Rings, how he shows the music, like you can see right here. You see all its different bars, you can see how the music flows immediately in connection with the moving picture. And then you get just a very good uh, you get very good voiceover from the narrator explaining what's actually happening with the music, why it plays this particular way, how it makes you feel, and what Howard Shore was thinking as he was putting this all together. Just I cannot recommend these videos highly enough by listening in. But yeah, so we'll stop sharing. And we're going to come back over here. So, with that being said, I think that... oh, I'm going in and out again? Oh, no. What's going on? Let me check here. Audio on my end. Make sure that it's coming through just fine. And the internet is... the internet is what it is. Those of you who us for a while now know that I live in a black hole of Wi-Fi. All right. Well, okay, good to hear that's better now. So I think then, without any further ado, let's start diving into the music. So we're going to rely very heavily here on this video. Let me make sure that I am saying the name of this particular channel properly. It's supposed to be Isaiah, but it's spelled I say. So Isaiah is the channel, and I should have a link to at least to this particular video in the description, so you can go and you can check it out. Wonderful work, Isaiah, for putting this particular video together, because we have all of these different songs, unfortunately not in chronological order. That's the one thing that will make this maybe a little bit frustrating, but we have all the songs that use the motifs of Don't Forget. Now, it's important for us to focus on Don't Forget because it is the song that immediately connects us to Des. Dry heat Wi-Fi. Yes, in Arizona, in southern Arizona, everything just gets cooked. Only happened when we switched to YouTube. Interesting. It might have been because I didn't say I wasn't going to share all of the audio while I was sharing my screen. That might have been what did it, because I didn't want to have the music from Lord of the Rings actually playing, because again, trying to avoid copyright strikes in this day and age. But so starting off with Don't Forget. Let's listen and enjoy.
The light is running low and the shadows start
also,
to grow.
One of the things that's nice is that Isaiah added as well some notes and thoughts about the music as well, which I think is helpful.
There's a light inside your soul that's still shining in the cold, with the truth, the promise in our hearts. Don't forget, I'm with you in the dark.
All right, so I'm going to pause it right there, and let's actually take a moment and draw on some history to better understand why we got to start here. Why start with this song? So those who are far more musically inclined than I am would have recognized by the time that we get to that song by the end that we've already heard it many, many times, and throughout the game, up until that point. So it's like they're like, "Woohoo, yeah!" Uh, like that. So this is what Toby Fox has been building up to. All of the music from the Field of Hope and Dreams to the Scarlet Forest, and if you fought Jevil, you heard it in the World Revolving, and it's also in the music for Friendship. That in all of these moments in the game where there's either a big transition in the story or there's a very big emotional moment, this song comes in, and so at the end of the game, you're like, so this is what Toby Fox was building up to this whole time. Yay, Toby, thank you. And immediately after Chapter 1 dropped, people began to wonder, okay, so who is the person who is singing in all of this? Like, looking looking back at it when we only had the first chapter, people are like, okay, so is this like Chris singing to us because we're the players? That seemed a little bit weird because we just saw Chris rip out their heart, throw it into the cage, and they're like, "What the heck just happened?" I think there's even some people who wondered if it might not be Toriel who was singing the song, because we know about Toriel's fantastic singing. And then there were others who wondered if it could be Ralze who was singing. Was it Susie? Susie was definitely a favorite for who could be singing. Don't forget. I personally, thinking back to it, right after playing Chapter 1, I wondered if it might not have been, actually been the player who was supposed to kind of be the one singing, as ominous as that sounds, to Chris. Be all like, "Don't forget, Chris, I'm with you in the dark." It's like, no, I can't ever escape you. uh, so we had loads of different theories about who it could possibly be who had sung who had sung "Don't Forget," but honestly, it was still very much open to interpretation. The theory of it being Susie gained further traction once we got into Chapter 2. Once we got some of Toby's little tidbits in his newsletters and the likes. But I feel like Chapter 3 does solidify that the singer is meant to be Des, and it comes around to the song "Raise Your Bats." We got right here. Tyler Goodman says, "I'm excited to watch Coyote versus Acme as 95% on Rotten Tomatoes. This will be the best Looney Tunes movie ever." I hope it will be. And a lot of that is right now from the critics who got the early chance to see it. And also the critics have an extra incentive to really boost the movie in order to stick it to David Zaslav, because they don't like David Zaslav. And that's very understandable. But I'm looking forward to seeing the movie so that way I can judge it on its own merits. Art says, "I'm still saying that it's Des singing to Chris." I agree. Keylorn says, "Laura Shigihara, the singer for Deltarune, is tremendously gifted and did Everything's All Right for To the Moon, another outstanding experience." Oh, I actually didn't know that. Thank you for sharing that. Project Hail Mary has some unique music for Rocky. It has that rock style to it. Yes, and Rocky's very deserving of it. Art says, "My reasoning for what I believe is that during their final moments before everything goes bad, Des is consoling Chris, trying to make them feel better." Ooh, I like that. It's a little bit more sad than I was thinking. Now then, I'm going to play the part from Chapter 3 where we get where we get Raise Your Bat. Now, unfortunately, my audio, I found out when I went back to prep this, that my audio for this particular clip was rather bad. So, and also I've had another experience where when I tried to play Raise Your Bat for another video, I got copyright struck. So I'm going to try to avoid that. Copyright strikes, copyright strikes. But in any case, in this moment, as we're all there for a rock concert, Tenna brings up Des. So, oh, Chris, remember December? Oh, that little musical prodigy. Remember when she'd grab the remote and swap it from cartoons? Do that wild music video channel Toriel forbid you to watch. Guess your mother's never been a fan of alligators and bikinis. Des rocking her guitar and singing along with those nasty, nasty songs. Didn't you all think she was just so cool? Yeah, I got copyrighted for Raise Your Bat. I absolutely did. It was very, very frustrating. And there have been a lot of other YouTubers who have been copyright struck for it as well. It's really, really frustrating. And it's not Toby Fox doing it. It's someone in Toby Fox's camp who's just absolutely maniacal about certain songs, and that no, thou shalt not play it except for in the game. And this is like, dude, Toby makes everything almost everything free. Like, slow your rolls. But here's the thing: is that Tenna is bringing up Des at a very interesting moment, because it feels like it just comes out of nowhere. Here we are, we're about to have a rock concert, and then he brings up Des and brings up a memory about Des, and what we find out is a very formative memory for Chris. And there's a lot of other connections in chapter 3 to that. There's the parental controls, Des mess around with it, how Chris learned a lot from Des. A lot of what Chris exhibits as their personality traits are things that I wouldn't say necessarily are borrowed from Des, but are informed by their long relationship with her. So Tenna's bringing all of this up right before we begin to play the song Raise Your Bat. And now then, Ralsei, once the music starts going, Ralsei tries to change all of the lyrics because he's like, wait, what? Oh, these seem rather inappropriate. And it's like, hey, none of that, Ralsei, none of that. Now, as someone who always really sucked at Guitar Hero and Rock Band, when I played this, I had no idea that the lyrics were even going. I was so hyper fixated on the music bars, trying to hit those right in time because I'm so bad at these kinds of games. But so in any case, so I missed out on the fact that there was the lyrics. But once we actually then get to see what the lyrics are, and as you hear the music itself, while Raise Your Bat does not necessarily lift any of the leitmotifs from Don't Forget, the lyrics are where it's important. Yes, Susie. I just love watching Susie just cut loose. It's so frustrating without the music. Again, I apologize everyone for the that unfortunately my clip here was bad. I am going to replay my way through this part of the game, re-record it, and get a much better audio clip for future videos. Also, you got those lyrics already? They seem a little inappropriate. Do I have to? Too bad. Now, audience, give it up one last time. For it's TV time. And give it to us. Give it to us, the lyrics. All right, there we go. So, when the demon heart is crying and the blood is gushing bright, raise up your bat for the burning fight. When your hope is slowly dying and the future's lost its rights, raise up your bat and face the fright. So it's like curse you, Rousey, for changing these lyrics because the lyrics are just so dang good. But this is very clearly like when you start looking at the lyrics, like this feels more like a Susie thing. But based on what we then see later on chapter 4 of Dessa's room, it's very easy to make the connection to, okay, this is Dessa's music right here. Let's knock him dead into the night. Let's knock him dead into the night. Woo! All right, you cut loose there, Susie. Just imagine the music. And there's me struggling playing as Chris, because again, these are not my style of games. Come follow me into the dark with your heart as the arc, which shall shine you the way. And this is then, so this right here in terms of the chorus, this is what immediately starts connecting us on over to Don't Forget. So with this idea of going into the dark, there's still something shining. And in the case for Raise Your Bats, this is definitely is a far more of an aggressive song. This is like going in. We're going on an adventure. We're going into the darkness. And if the darkness starts getting overwhelming, guess what? We're going to face it. We're going to fight it. Come follow me into the dark with your heart as the arc, which shall shine you the way. This is far more positive and far more aggressive. Because I'm with you in the dark. Remember this? Don't forget I'm with you in the dark. Because I'm with you in the dark. With your heart as my mark, which shall guide you the way. Through the way, come follow me into the dark, with your heart as the arc, which shall shine you the way. Because I'm with you in the dark, with your heart as my mark, which shall guide you the way. So, the similarities between Don't Forget and Raise Your Bat in terms of the words. And again, this is a song that, according that by intent of bringing up Des, is meant to evoke Des. The style of music, it's rock style, it's punk, is immediately connected to Des once we go into Des's room. And we see that this is very much her. So this is her song. And again, while it does not use the leitmotifs to connect them, it's the words that connect that connect these two songs. So that's why I'm very confident in saying that Don't Forget is indeed Des's song. And because it's Des's song, and it's also Deltarune's main theme, that means that Des herself is the main theme of Deltarune. She, in some way or another, has either influenced or is influencing almost everything that we encounter. Now, or maybe saying almost everything is maybe just giving her a little bit too much credit, but it puts her squarely in the center of just how important Chris's actions are, why this adventure is even happening in the first place, and what the aim of it all is. It all comes back down to December holiday. So hopefully we're all on the same track here. Raise Your Bat and Don't Forget, although two very different songs, their lyrics are meant to mirror each other. And coming around to actually what hey, Guy is here as well. Woohoo! Hello, Lars. Hello, Guy. And so thinking about how the lyrics basically mirror each other. Obviously, one song is very tightly tied to Des, and so we can easily then infer Don't Forget is also Des's song. The difference in tone and in words also matters a whole lot. Raise Your Bat is a very brash, very hopeful, energetic, go get 'em, aggressive punk rock song. Don't Forget is way more of a lullaby. It's a very beautiful and encouraging piece. And that's meant to be so because it's the hope that pushes Chris forward throughout all of their choices and throughout their adventure. And the source of that hope is Des. And it's important to underscore that because as Des's theme changes throughout the game, it will mirror Chris's own evolution as a character, their own journey, and also how they begin to struggle with whether or not this is the right thing to do. And I hope to show that as we start going further into the music. So let me then bring back up Isaiah's video, and we shall continue. When the red heart turns yellow, the motif is playing. Now, it makes sense that Don't Forget has this very heavy, very happy, very strong representation in beginning. Because, well, this is the beginning. This is the start of the adventure, though not as strong as when we're going to get to Field of Hope and Dreams, but it's the beginning of the adventure, and it plays very specifically as we see Hometown. That's because Hometown is the place where Des was with Chris and with Azrael, with Noelle. She had a very strong presence there. And when Chris looks around at Hometown, I'm betting to say that what they see is not just the places, but they see the memories of all these places of what they did with Des at that shop, at QC's diner, what they did to like pull pranks on their dad when Azrael was still the police chief. Maybe they even knew Undine a little bit when she was just getting started. Maybe Undine once arrested Des. Who knows? But there's got to be all different kinds of memories that Chris immediately associates with Des when they look around Hometown. And that is why her theme can be heard blended in with the beginning as you go out into for what the players is the new world, but for Chris, this is their daily life. Always seeing and recognizing Des everywhere. Guy says Tony Fox's music is so detailed and artistic, it's his bread and butter. It really is. It really is. Look at how downtrodden Chris is to be here with Toriel. Yeah, and to be holding hands with Toriel. And I would also say this, because this is the day where everything starts changing. This is when Chris is going to start implementing the plan, the quest, the journey to bring Des back. And seeing them embarrassed with the eyes down and everything goes to show that despite the grand quest that they are about to undertake, Chris is still very much a teenager. Chris is still very much their own person. And that's important because they're not just the hero who's going to go do heroic things. They are their own individual person with all of the contradicting thoughts, actions, feelings, and beliefs that make them real. Just like any one of us. You could give any single one of us a heroic quest, and by golly, we would go and do it, and we would still be just as silly and dumb as Chris because we are just people. And I like how that's represented through Chris's demeanor as well as through their actions, and also how the music plays a role in this. Art says the entire town seems to be so distracted by their happiness while Chris is lost in their own depression. That's a very good observation. And Guy says Toriel has a lot more going on here than in Undertale. She's looking at Frisk while she walks in Undertale and looks forward in Deltarune. That's a good observation there, guys. Good comparison or a good contrast to draw. Thank you for sharing that. And then here we come to a field of open dreams. Yes, I too would take a Candy Star out of the tree. So, Dessa's music starts coming in, and we have, you'll notice I made a distinction between Don't Forget A and Don't Forget B because there are some variations to the leitmotif. But so the Field of Hope and Dreams just seems to be far more of another take on Don't Forget. And the way that I interpret this is that now that we are properly in the Dark World, chasing after Susie, the adventure is on. Chris is to move forward with the plan now. What is it all for? What is it all about? Well, it's all about Des. This is a world of this Dark World is a place of boundless possibility and adventure, which is why it's so peppy, it's so upbeat, so hopeful, and because there is hope that this plan will succeed. And so I like this particular use of the leitmotif in Field of Hope and Dreams because it's meant to evoke that hope, that happiness, this beginning, the possibility. Now, where it gets interesting for me is that this gets recycled in Chapter 5, the Garden of Hopes and Dreams. Something that I am willing to hear what other people have to say about this, because I'm still not exactly sure what exactly is happening here. Because the beginning of the Dark World for Chapter 5 feels so much like a recycling of Chapter 1. Now, there are people who are like, well, this is Toby just being lazy, but I'm not sure if I really go for that. I feel like Toby's trying to communicate something with just how similar a Field of Hope and Dreams is and a Garden of Hopes and Dreams, and how the beginning of Chapter 1 and the beginning of Chapter 5 in the Dark World are very similar to each other. But I'm not exactly sure what Toby's trying to communicate. My personal working theory right here, but it's not on a very strong foundation, is that this is twofold. One is that the beginning of Chapter 5's Dark World is the way it is because Chris is trying to pull Susie back towards them by basically like, don't you remember the first amazing adventure that we went on? Wasn't that great when you and I first became friends? Please remember. Please stop being all googly-eyed over Noelle. Please. I also think that it might be because Chapter 5, in a very sinister way, gets us back on track for what Chapter 1 was likely meant to be from the beginning, which was Chris beginning the manipulation of Noelle to get Noelle exactly where she needed to be in order to implement the plan to save Des. But obviously that didn't turn out. She didn't go into the Dark World until Chapter 2. Chris began spending all their time with Susie. And so this is kind of like a redo of we're going to get there by hook or by crook. Now, those are the two things I'm thinking about. But again, that's more conjecture rather than evidence. So I'm willing to hear what other people have to say about this, because you might be able to give me something far better to work with in terms of understanding why a Field of Hope and Dreams, a Garden of Hope and Dreams, the beginnings of both chapters are the way that they are. Let's see here. Art says that's a good point. Toriel looks away, hoping Chris's problems will resolve themselves. She's not a big fan of confrontations. I don't like confrontations. Guy says, I like to think this motif recurrence is a vehicle for the theme of the song. Don't forget, I'm still with you. I agree with that because it's always about Des. Everything that Chris is doing is because of Des. Chapter 5 is a direct contrast to Chapter 1 for a very artistic choice. It is the calm before the storm, according to him, which is Toby Fox. Art says, my theory, in this beginning moment, Chris doesn't want to let go of Susie, and this beginning section is an indication of that. Yeah, and see, that's kind of what I'm thinking as well. Killhorn says, it would be weird to get lazy on the soundtrack when you spend so much time planting Easter eggs and changing dialogues based on player choices. Yeah, and that's why I'm like, I don't agree that he's just getting lazy. Like, there has to be a real reason for why you have these similarities between the beginning of chapter 1 and the beginning of chapter 5, and why the music is repeated the way that it is. Guy says it's also very different in significant ways. Susie's being more open and Ralsei's being more assertive with the theme of the prophecy is challenged. Oh, that is a good observation. I've not thought of that. That what we're getting right here with the music, because this music is even more playful and more bold than A Field of Hopes and Dreams. And that would fit very well with Ralsei becoming more assertive, also more sarcastic, more teasing, while Susie is just marching ahead, totally confident in who she is as a person, in who she is as a hero, and what it is that she wishes to accomplish. And so, as a result, yeah, you definitely, it works. It works really well. I like that. Also, on top of that, we've got Flowery here, who is just absolutely being extra. Flowery knows that that he's auditioning to be the main character in an upcoming anime. But yeah, so here we have these two powerful uses of Don't Forget, which, as I said, I believe is meant to be like, this is the beginning, here we go, start of the adventure. Don't forget, it's all about Des. Flowery is my favorite antagonist now. Yes, he does make a good antagonist, especially to Ralsei. Now, things get a little bit interesting when we get to the Scarlet Forest, because the Scarlet Forest also uses Don't Forget leitmotifs. Well, let's see what Toby might be trying to communicate here. Okay, so I'm actually going to bring it back here, and I'll pause at a particular moment. I think that it's important to note what is actually happening in the game as this music plays. Because the Scarlet Forest isn't just simply, oh, it's a forest, it's a maze, and it's scarlet, of course. But there are hidden paths in the Scarlet Forest. And it's in the Scarlet Forest where we start finding the keys for the pieces to the key for releasing Jevil. So it's like, oh, that's a little interesting, because in order to find Jevil, you have to go looking for him. You have to explore the game more thoroughly in order to bring him on out. And I think it's the same way with Des. We have to go looking for Des to realize that she's there and start figuring out, how are we supposed to save her again? Like that plays a part into it, and that's mirrored not just by the music, but by the environment, once again, of the Scarlet Forest itself. How it's like a maze with all of these hidden paths, with all these different tricks. How at some points you have to make it darker in order to see the way forward. Much like what we're doing in our quest to save Des. We have to descend into even greater depths of darkness in order to find her. Stormcrow is here. Great to have you here, Stormcrow. Howdy. So when the Don't Forget leitmotif is mixed with Azrael's theme, well, that finally confirmed they had gone good Christian love. Maybe. as in wink, wink, sex. Um, I don't know, because here's the thing: we know Azrael's theme from Undertale, but I don't know if we yet know Azrael's theme for Deltarune. Now then, I will say this: like here, like I'm going to throw this on out here as a question to you all. Do you know Chris's theme? What is Chris's leitmotif? And say that's it. There's a question for you. As far as Azrael's theme goes, if we hear "Don't Forget" mixed together with his theme, who knows? Who knows? I would say that I would probably say far more Stormcrow that if we hear "Raise Your Bat" mixed with his theme, that then yes, that would be more the two of them conjoining themselves, nuzzling. Actually, on that point, on that note, I have a Desreal video dropping tomorrow, so look forward to that. Guy says Azrael comes back from college and introduces their new friend they made, Frisk. Well, that's better than introducing Kara. Stormcrow, on a serious note, I won't be shocked at all if Deltarune. I won't be shocked at all is Deltarune Azrael's theme is completely taken over by Don't Forget. That would be something. I think that Azrael would still have his own particular theme, his own motif, but I think that it will be very much connected to Don't Forget. Also, I'm just going to throw this on out here. After much thinking, I think I know how Chapter 6 is going to end. It's going to end with the reveal of who the knight is, but right as we're like reeling, like, oh my gosh, it is Des, and other people are like, yes, I knew it was Des. That when it all seems like all hope is about to fall apart, boom, Azrael shows up, and then everything just implodes. Also, that's when the knight flees, because the knight's going to be like, don't see me like this. Anyways, Keelan says there are many layers at work. One with Des in the code, another with Susie and Ralze being with Chris, another with us, the player, being with the characters, a fourth with the game being with us. Yes, there's so many layers to Deltarune and to certain scenes as well. Holy cow! It's like a delicious lasagna. This is a lasagna of Toby Fox goodness. Art says Chris's motif seems to be Don't Forget. They are the only one that seems to remember Des and is determined not to forget her one way or another instead of moving on. I like that answer, Art. I like that answer. Now then, oh, I can't wait. I can't wait until I'm able to finally drop my music analysis video based on what I discovered after Peak's battle. Oh, it's so good. Now that Sergo says Azrael to Death Knight. Wait, baby, you still have an amazing ass. And have you've been reading Heartbreak Juan, haven't you? Haven't you, Stormcrow? Anyways, moving on. So here we've got then the credits, and it's just another take on the music. I don't think there's really anything really big to get out of this other than that this happens at the end of Chapter 5, which is then again just another iteration of Don't Forget. So much like how Chapters 1 and 2 very clearly have the Don't Forget music going on, Chapter 5 is like, don't forget Des. Like, in the midst of all this insanity that went down by the end of Chapter 5, it all still comes back around to Des. Like, so someone needs to pull out music from Steven Universe. Do it for her. And the thing though is that Chris is kind of caught there and it's all like, do it for her, Des, or do it for her, Susie. Which one? Which one? All right, and then we got the music for friendship. Lauren says, to back up your theory, after this has to be Noelle's thing too, then the soft music disappears altogether. Susie then excitedly prepares for Noelle with Chris outside as sad music ends the chapter. Yes, because again, Chris is doing this for Des. This whole quest, everything that Chris is going through, is all to save Des. And what you just brought up right there, Lorraine, is very, very important. It will actually play a huge role into how Des's theme breaks. And I say break intentionally, because there are moments in the game where her motif, her theme, gets shattered. And there's one moment in particular where it gets shattered that you start hearing notes that you associate with Susie breaking through. And there's two different ways to interpret that. But in light of chapter 5, the sadder interpretation that you would then go with where you hear Susie kind of breaking through Des's theme, is that Chris is caught in this place where they clearly like Susie. They know that what they're doing is going to hurt Susie on some level. And it puts them in this awkward place because they love Des as well. They want to save Des, but at the cost of hurting someone else who's now very important to them. So while remembering that they're doing all of this for Des, Chris just can't help it at the end of chapter 5, lingering on the fact that they're losing Susie. Or at least that's the way that they see this playing out. And the music is reflective of that. And so the music really helps to emphasize how a character is feeling and helps us to better understand where the story is at that point. Because if you just go through the end of chapter 5 without any music, it just seems like, yay, Susie is together with Noelle. It's so happy, hunky-dory. Yes, Asgore's been kidnapped, but you know what? The heroes are about to rally. Noelle's joining the team. They're going to go back to the Holiday Manor, get that code, break into the shelter, and then who knows where we're going to go next. Oh, we're so excited. The music suddenly makes you realize, oh no. Oh, I don't know if this is a good idea anymore. I don't like where this is going. So the music changes. Music, this was brought up earlier about how music can really help to emphasize or elevate a scene. It can also take what makes a scene maybe look really happy or really sad and can change how you feel about it. And I'll say this: hearing the music from Enya in the movie End of Oak Street reminded me of how years ago, when I was a missionary, me and one of my companions who were coming up with a story idea, and I said I really wanted a scene where a bunch of people get killed in like a really brutal gunfight, and you have beautiful Enya music just overlaid across the entire scene. And just to make it, I wanted to feel surreal. You feel happy and peaceful because it's Enya, but you're like watching people getting their brains blown out. 20-year-old me. What thoughts? Let's see here. Guy says, it's already established that the Dark World can reincarnate dead people as Darkners. What if Des is dead and that's what the night is? I think that that's a good theory there, Guy. And I think that would help to definitely explain what's going on with Des, because Des has vanished, yet everyone's like, but Chris believes that they can get Des back. And so as for my personal interpretation of it is that much like with how there's been something weird that's happened with Chris, where they've obviously lost something about themselves in order to become the vessel for the player's soul. Why couldn't the same have happened for Des, where Dessa's very soul and essence has been removed from her and is now lost in the game, it's lost in the code, and now what's effectively a corpse is what's left behind to be puppeted and used. Like, who knows by what? Could she be manipulated by friend, by Gaster, by some other demon? Is this just what happens to a monster when you remove their soul? We've already seen evidence in chapter 4 of a variation of Gerson going berserk. So is that what's happening with the knight? We don't really know, but I think that you're on a very good line of track, a good train of thought. There we go. That's the one I'm looking for. You're on a very good train of thought, I think, Guy. I think you're thinking along the right lines. Killorn says reincarnation isn't quite right. It's more like memories or remnants of people can be animated from remains or physical items. A dream, if you will, like how dark worlds are also real and not. Like a different way of looking at something or a reflection of a thing we don't quite recognize in the dark, which is what Ralze explains in chapter 3. And that's very good that you bring that up, Kill Lawrence. Thanks for that. All right, now then, this music right here. There's an orchestral rendition of the song "Friendship." I just absolutely love it. It's so emotionally moving. I believe that's done by Sirius. Did that? Anyways, so thinking about the use of "Don't Forget" here, because it is very much its own very beautiful nice song. This is just a very sweet way of ending the very first adventure, and there's just this incredible warmth to it. And as you go throughout this whole section, acting on the friendships that you built throughout the first chapter, if you've been spared. As you get Dessa's theme, I think that, jumping a little bit ahead right there, I think that it's significant that it's Dessa's theme that plays over it all, or plays, I should say, through it all, because I think in a way it helps to remove an assumption that many of us, including myself, have had about Des. That Des would just go into the dark worlds, be uber violent, crush all the bosses, crush her way through, and just go on to the next adventure. Like, that's kind of the image that we have in our brains of Des. And that's further reinforced by the song Raise Your Bats. But what if Des was far more complex than that? What if Des is someone who could absolutely bring the pain when it came to a fight in the dark world? What if Des was truly that rambunctious, adventurous, go break through a brick wall type of girl, but she was also someone who was very capable of being incredibly friendly? And maybe not necessarily your true pacifist, like Azrael probably is, but still someone that you could be very close friends with. Someone who was very kind when they could be, when they should be, who could also be very generous. And that friendship then, by being intermixed with the Don't Forget theme in a very beautiful and hopeful, calming way, what if that is meant to be not just simply a reflection of where Chris is in that moment, with the absolute victory over King and at the end of chapter 1, but also a reflection of a quality of Des. It's some food for thought. We don't fully know because we don't really know her entirely. There's a lot about Des that's an enigma, but it's some food for thought. And then you can always come home. Obviously, her music is well intertwined with this particular theme because Des would have been over at the Dreamer house a whole lot. Where she was, home was too. Lawrence says the meta of Deltarune Undertale is that reality is determined by subjective perception. So to speak, whether these characters are real as prevalent is irrelevant compared to what we take from them. And one could even say that if you can gain something from someone else and make something, And because it's always popular, like you have these things. It's also very Japanese. Even if something isn't technically real, because you believe in it, because you gain something from it, you've made it real. Guy says, I'm more curious to find out what Ralze is exactly. Oh, yeah. Same here. Same here. I know this is a wild theory to throw on out there, but I think that Ralze is a part of Azrael. And I also think that Ralze might actually be Azrael's way of trying to interject into whatever adventure there is to save Des, and to kind of build just a little bit on that, Guy. I think while doing that, I might as well just hop on over to some more video footage right here. So what I think is this. I think that Azrael, just like Chris, wanted to get Des back by like whatever it would take, until Azrael found out what it would actually take to bring Des back. And he was probably like, oh no. Like, I love her, but can I risk losing the whole world for one person? And I think Azrael's like, I can't do that. Whereas Chris is like, I can do that. And Azrael, knowing their sibling, is like, Chris will do that. Oh, crud. Whenever that happens, I probably won't be there to stop them. So I need to make sure that there is a way to try to stop them. And thereby the creation of Ralze comes about. And one of the things that we learn about Ralze is that Ralze has been trying to alter the path of the prophecy the entire time. And think about this. We're beginning to question more and more if the girl in the prophecy might not be Noelle. Now, granted, we see something more akin to Susie's silhouette when we see the girl, but there's still the question of whether or not Noelle could be the girl in the prophecy. And if that's true, if Noelle is actually the girl of the prophecy, and Ralze's been rolling with Susie this whole time, that means that Ralze's all like, I'm already breaking the whole plan here. And I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I am breaking the whole prophecy by making sure that Susie becomes the hero. Now, that's just a theory, a Lars theory. But that's what I enjoy. Killorn says, correct on what makes it real, and it makes me hope we never get explicit confirmation what Ralze is. The mystery makes him seem more real to me. I like that. Art says, I don't think Azrael's aware of what's going on, to be honest. Carol has been keeping everything pretty discreet, contacting Chris by masked voice and Chris deleting the conversation after each interaction, with the evil group chat TM pending. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that Azrael knows what's happening in Hometown right now, but I think that Azrael probably knew that something like this could happen, is my guess. Azrael's presented to us as a very capable, smart kid, and as someone who was there, someone who was very likely there for whatever happened to Des, as someone who was exploring the dark worlds, I think that there's a possibility that Azrael probably knew what needed to be done to get Des, and just decide not to go along with it. Now, again, that's just a working theory right here. I'm expecting that Chapter 6 is going to destroy a lot of our theories, and at the same time confirm a handful of them. Mostly being that we're going to finally learn who the Knight actually is, and I'm pretty positive it's Des. All right. Returning to the music. Friends, Christmas Susie's date at the diner. Now, hold on a second. I'm actually going to pull this back, and I want you to pay attention and just listen to the music. So, We'll let this play on out. And then I'm not going to speak. I just want you to listen to Friends. All right. Then the Diner Song of Best Friends is just a variation on Friends. And here's what I'm going to posit as far as that goes. This is one of those instances where the motif isn't really concrete. It seems like it's falling apart. It's becoming fuzzy. You can hear it there, but it's not as strong as in a lot of the other songs. And it's falling apart when it's Chris with Susie in a special, somewhat intimate moment between the two of them that you have to go looking for, all part of the cruisy route. And if you go that way, you're spending your time there with Susie. And the way that the music is played is very evocative of like fond memories. Because Chris has fond memories of being there at the diner with Azrael. And also they've got fond memories of what it was like to be with Azrael and Des and Noelle. Fond memories of the past. And just like the past gets fuzzy over time, Des's theme is fuzzy and soft. But I also think that one of the reasons why it's soft and crumbling, almost falling apart, as it were, is because Chris's resolve to follow through with the quest to save Des at such a high cost is wavering. And wavering at that moment because they are spending time with Susie. And it's a moment that, as it plays out with how they draw and scribble on the window and just share just sweet time together. That scene really emphasizes just how close these two characters have become. And as it's titled, they're friends. But it's a scene that, with a wink and a nod at the end, says that these are two who could become more than friends. And the music helps to support that as well. And so it depends. But it's also at the same time kind of leaves it just a little bit open to interpretation, whether it could just be about recalling the good old days and how just distant they feel, or if it could be that it's Chris's motivation wavering in light of this new, very amazing, beautiful friendship that they have with Susie. And great to have you here, Darkest Daydreams. Let's hear. You've missed an hour's worth of stuff so far. We've talked about how Don't Forget is Des's theme. It's connected to Raise Your Bet, which, even though they are not connected through motifs, the lyrics mirror each other and how the feeling of those two songs seem to emphasize different points. Also, Tenna makes a point of connecting Raise Your Bat to Des. So once we see how Don't Forget and Raise Your Bat are mirrors of each other lyrically, that helps to lend some credit to how Don't Forget is most likely Des's theme, and how that theme plays a role throughout the game, and what that theme might be telling us as we go along. Kiel Lauren says, Toby likes to leave the ship possibilities open. With all the jokes on throuples, the lines you only see on certain routes, it must have taken ages to plan out. Oh my gosh. There's a reason why this game took so long to make. If you've ever done a choose your own adventure story and you've plotted out all the different possibilities, it takes so much time, and then making sure that you don't contradict yourself as you go through all these different possibilities is a nightmare. Here's a question I have. The sad/nostalgic tone to the music with Chris and Susie, and the sword route showing Chris getting used up. Do you think there will be a big tragedy before the true ending? Oh, yes. Yes, there will be. There will be a tragedy. Also, I think that within tragedy comes hope. Now then, I'll just say this for right now. I have commissioned a piece from the amazing artist Nekaru. Woo! She's done quite a bit of my art. She's done some of the artwork for my cruisy videos in the past, and I'm working with her on getting a. I'm working with her on getting a particular piece put together that I will use for a theory video about what that tragedy is likely to be, Keel Lawrence, and also how hope can be sprung out of that tragedy and how it focuses on Chris and Susie. But yes, before we get to the true ending, there will most definitely be some heavy hitting tragedies. It's going to be rough. Holy cow. I'm ready for it. Kind of. My body's ready, but my heart isn't. Guy says, when Flowery's jar breaks, there is a seed pack that falls with loads of warning labels that Chris takes. What is Chris planning on doing with those? That is an excellent question. That is an excellent question. I've seen a lot of people be all like, suicide. I'm like, I don't see it going. I do not see it happening. Personally, I don't see that happening. We don't know exactly what Chris is doing. Could very well be that the seeds might have to do with taking care of the sacrifices rather than like slitting anyone's throats and bleeding them. It could be that, hey, we're just going to poison you. And by the way, very toxic seeds right here will knock you out fast and get rid of you. That could be what's going on. We don't really know, but yeah, Chris is probably planning something a little nefarious with those seeds, and that's why Asgore had to be taken and why Flowery's pot had to be broken. Darkest Agent says, guess what happens when you have the night shift? I guess that's what happens when you have the night shift. Yes, the night shift. I do not miss doing the night shifts at Albertsons. Especially the graveyard shifts. Oof. Oh boy. And then I have to do the graveyard shift and then doing a day shift. Oh, those were the worst. Keelan says, for instance, one of those outstanding tracks in Final Fantasy VII is Words Drowned by Fireworks, which plays in a scene you can share with a female character who dies shortly afterwards. The song is quite nostalgic. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. All right, so continuing on with the music. The Diner song of Best Friends is ultimately meant to be a reflection of Chris and Susie. If you didn't go looking for the Chris and Susie scene, this is probably just, hey, Asgore and Flowery hanging out like bros at college would. It's almost romantic music right there, bro. Don't worry about it, bro. You're my bro. Now then, getting into I Guess I'm in Love. I wish I had been a little bit more forward thinking when putting together my upcoming Desrail video, which again drops tomorrow. But for I Guess I'm in Love, heavily uses the Don't Forget theme. Now it's like, okay, why is this being played right here? Because, Chris is off to the side in the chair, as it were. Watching all of this play out, and it's like, and so it's like, why is Dess's theme playing here? Is this like, come on, Chris, do it for Des? You got to do it for Des, man. You got to do it. But I think that why this music is playing is because it is reminiscent of Des and Azrael, because there's an interesting love triangle that is being played out between Chris, Susie, and Noelle. And in the video that'll drop tomorrow, I go on to explain that this love triangle in part exists because of Des and Azrael. Noelle and Chris's perceptions of romance and what they're looking for in a partner is very influenced by Des, who Des was. Noelle's looking for a replacement for her sister. Chris is looking for someone just as spunky, chaotic, and charismatic as Des was, and also happens to just match their dragon fetish. But the person that both Noelle and Chris are after, like idealistically speaking, is someone who is heavily informed by Des. At the same time, it's not just simply, oh, I want a Des replacement. Give me one. Let me order one on Amazon. It's a relationship that's informed by what they saw between Des and Azrael, where Des was definitely the more chaotic, spunky, go get 'em, loud, crazy, dirty, brash, rough girl, as we are told in chapter 3, and as he was the soft, quiet, fluffy boy. The thing is that these opposites attracted, and they attracted well. And it was a dynamic that Noelle and Chris would also like to enjoy. And so as you hear, I guess I'm in love, feel for it, feel for that teenage spark of excitement and happiness and comfort as you listen to this. Now, Killorn says, I'll push back on that a touch. I think Noelle is looking for someone who can break out of the life she has. Failing that, she says Susie will make her happy enough to say trapped, it implies. Which, that's a good point to bring up, Killorn, because that is what Noelle says. And in chapter 5. And it's one of the reasons why I'm like, oh, the Suzelle ship. I'm sorry, y'all. You're going to set sail and get shot in the middle of the harbor. Good luck. Noelle, like, thinking about, like, Noelle, like I said, Noelle, I still feel like Noelle's looking for that Des replacement. But it's not that she's looking for a carbon copy of Des, because Susie's very much her own person. And also, in the weird route, when Noelle latches onto Chris is not Des. And as you said, Killorn, she's looking for someone who can break her out of the life that she has. And Chris is the person who can do that. And it's the person that Noelle has wanted to break her out of her life now for a long time, because it was Chris who was there to comfort her in the past when Des and Azrael began dating, when Des and Azrael started doing their own thing together, when Des wasn't always there for her. Chris stepped in and became that partner. And so you're right that she's looking for whoever can break her out of this life. And it either is someone who's a good Des substitute, like Susie, or it's someone like Chris, or really is Chris. Guy says, it's why I think Susie and Noelle would eventually won't work. It's a combination of puppy love and projection, I feel. And I agree. Just at face value, it's very clearly what's going on. Killorn says, after all, Noelle confirms what she's looking for with Chris when they are different, and she makes a big deal of how they changed and how she can change too if Chris allows it. Yes. And Guy says, you could say Noelle is looking to be free. Noelle freedom motif confirmed weird route. Guy, thank you so much for bringing that up. Because that is going to be, I know I'm hinting at a video that's a little ways off still, but trust me, it's something I've been thinking about a lot recently. Noelle's theme, Noelle's leitmotif is connected to the freedom leitmotif. And that is so insanely important. And once we begin unpacking what the freedom motif is actually telling us, It is both heartbreaking, it is scary, and for certain shippers, they are going to take this message and they are going to fly on off to buy as much stock as they possibly can. Because the stock is going to be rising. We're going to go from rookie numbers to big numbers. Spampton's been getting behind this whole time. Spampton knew. All right, I'm gonna stop right there before I start rambling on too much more, and I'm just gonna play I Guess I'm in Love. All right, dog check. Say, just gotta do a little bit of fun dog checking right there. But yeah, I'm happy that teenage Lars, teenage me, did not hear I Guess I'm in Love, because he would have fallen in love with that soundtrack and played it way too often on repeats. All right. How did I jump back? Gotta find where I was. How did that happen? All right. The guy says, Noelle is the final boss of the Weird Route. Could be an interesting idea. After fulfilling her duties, she refuses to be cast away like that and takes out her anger on Chris/us. Yeah, I refuse to be used up. And then we got the music at the school. Again, it's the first day, beginning of the adventure. So, remember, Des is with us. Now then, another day in hometown. And just like I brought up earlier, when Chris goes around hometown, they don't just see the place, they see memories. And what I like about this is the music is changing. Listen to how happy it is. And how playful it is as well. Chris is no longer just in the attitude of I got to go on this quest and save Des, but it's also I'm friends with Susie. I'm doing things with Susie, and that's just exciting and awesome. And so Chris is taking advantage of that. And so I think it's one of the reasons why the music gets a little bit peppier, a little bit more fun as it goes along, because Chris is enjoying their time with their new best friend. The lake, where so many things have gone down. Yeah, Noelle's an end boss. That'd be really crazy. Also, we know, thanks to Chapter 3, that ice magic is the most powerful of the magics. And that being unleashed on us would be terrifying. Kiel Lawrence, there was an interesting video on Noelle being the angel and an end boss. She definitely has a big role to play, and given her complicated motivations, she would make the not evil villain Toby likes. Yes. While Noelle has definitely done things that I don't appreciate, not just as a shipper, but just as a person who wants the absolute best for these cinnamon rolls, Noelle's got some things to work on out, but she's not evil. And she's definitely just she's being set up to be in a position where she will misuse the power that is given to her, and that's not good. Now, an interesting thing here as we come to this next track. So this is Happy Town. And as we see the video going with this, this is, if you go the weird route, at the end of the day when Chris meets up with Susie and they take a walk together through the festival after everyone else has left, you get a really interesting feel going on. Let's play it. Now, what I like about how the motif is played, it's played as if you as the notes for the motif are played, they're stepping up, they're becoming stronger and louder. And you know, if you've played the weird route, that this is leading up to sorry for joining you, dear girl. I just wanted a different ending, LMAO. Yeah. This is leading up to the notorious scene where we proceed with Noelle and go into the lake. Whew. And so we're building up to that moment. Chris knows that that's what's coming, and that build up is that promise of Chris, like, don't forget me, and don't forget I'm with you. And if we come back around to it, oh boy, let me make sure that I get the lyrics absolutely right for this. All right, so I'm going to take the lyrics for "Don't Forget," and we're going to put them into the context of the weird route in chapter 5. When the light is running low and the shadows start to grow. This is at sunset. This is going down. And the places that you know seem like fantasy. Chris has been throughout now Dark Worlds, all throughout Hometown. The line between reality and fantasy is blurring in so many ways. There's a light inside your soul that's still shining in the cold, with the truth, the promise in our hearts. So the promise between Chris and Des. Right here. Chris is going to get Des back. Don't forget, I'm with you in the dark. So Chris is about this at this moment. Chris takes a plunge. It's a dark plunge. And this is further emphasized by the fact that there's not going to be a traditional weird route in chapter 6. It's just jumping straight on to the last chapter in chapter 7. So Chris has taken the plunge in chapter 5 if you go the weird route. And it's dark, it's menacing. It's like, oh boy, like, where is this going? And basically the song is encouraging Chris, like, whatever comes next, just know this is what you're supposed to do, and don't be afraid, I am with you. And so that is why this music is playing. And what makes it so sad is that it's in this moment that Chris is sharing with Susie as they are going through the festival together. And it's in a way, it's what Chris would have wanted to have happened back at the end of chapter 2, if you choose that Chris wants to go with Susie to the festival. And what's more is that in this particular situation, this is a scenario where Susie and Noelle haven't confessed their feelings for each other. And remember what Susie says in the normal route, chapter 5. Someone has to tell you that they love you first. Well, Susie's hoping for either of them to show that they actually do like her, the way that she deep down likes them. But she's afraid of taking that step, making that choice, expressing herself until she knows what the other one feels. After spending the day at the festival with Noelle, Noelle did not confess anything to Susie. And so, although Susie has grown closer to Noelle and she likes Noelle, that confession, the weird route, hasn't happened. Here, though, now Susie gets a second bite at the apple. Second bite of the apple with Chris. To spend time with them. And the dialogue throughout this part of the chapter is Susie trying to encourage that moment with Chris where Chris can open up. And I think one of the reasons, again, why this is another moment where you can see and hear that the don't forget motif is kind of broken up a little is because Susie is here. And Chris is torn. Proceed with the plan or be with Susie. And I think the music is indicative of that, not just simply building up to what will happen at the end of the Weird Round, Chapter 5, but it is also indicative of how Chris wavers between two choices, Des or Susie. So let's continue listening to it. Yeah, chapter 6 is easier to make because Tony doesn't have to work about the weird routes. Yes. And then we got the festival, which is just nice and a little excited. And also, in a way, like Des's theme being even more prevalent in the festival music makes sense when you find out, if you make certain choices with who you vote for king and queen, that you find out just how much, again, like Des was a part of all of this, how Des and Azrael as a couple won king and queen of the hometown festival, and how that made Noelle feel really lonely, and how that encouraged her and Chris to grow even closer. And now we get to the big one right here. Oh, yes, the world revolving. All right, so, whoo! Oh my gosh, the world. So funny enough for me, Cutie Mew Mew Magic. This song, Cutie Mew Mew Magic, is the key to understanding why the world revolving is so dang good. Not only is it such an intense, chaotic, fun song that blends together the freedom leitmotif with Don't Forget, but it is also the song that helps you to understand what it means that those two themes, that those two motifs meet in that song with Jevil. The world revolving encapsulates everything you need to know about Jevil. That song perfectly captures him. It also perfectly reflects Des and one other character. I'm not going to say any more right now because I'm going to hold that back for that future video, because I do want that to I do want that to be my little surprise when I drop that hammer. Be like, boom. Here you go. And here's the musical evidence for it. But the world revolving is so dang good. It's also one of the reasons why it also helps to then make better sense of why Big Shot is also so insanely good. And interestingly enough, why Eram's music and Gerson's music, as incredible as they are, might not necessarily hit as hard as World Revolving and Big Shots. Even though those songs actually do exactly what it is that they need to do. And I'm going to show in that future video how all of those songs are connected and connected around a very specific character. And they show the evolution of that character. And it's really, really neat. Darkest Daydreams, drop the hammer plus boom sounds familiar. Hammer, it's Susie. Yes. Insert Wygor rubbing his hams. well. Lorraine says Noelle seems to be set up as an antagonist. Not much screen time, yet her relevance grows stronger as time passes. That's a very good observation. Yeah, she is definitely being set up as an antagonistic character. Poor Noelle. And I love how beautifully chaotic and all over the place the Cutie Mew Mew magic is, because it's Toby utilizing basically 4 different songs and blending them all together, and it works so dang well. Now then, Running Sky. Oh, this song right here is so insanely important, and not just important in the fact that it uses the Don't Forget motif. It is when it is used. So that guy says Mad Mew Mew is actually my favorite boss fight. Oh, well, this is a fun fight. So I'm going to place right here. I want you guys to pay attention to what's happening on screen with the character. And I'm going to ask you, why do you think it's so important to hear Sky running while watching Susie, Rawls, and Chris? Give you guys a moment to think on that. And very good. That's an excellent point. I absolutely 100% agree with you, Gil Lawrence, that Cutie Mew Magic, the whole battle with Pink, is so important because it mirrors what's happening with Chris, the duality of soul and body, how we are controlling Chris, yet Chris is their own person. And we have this strange dynamic between the two sides. All right. So, why do you guys think it might be so important to hear Running Sky right alongside seeing Chris, Susie, and Ralsei working in tandem? I mean, I know I am kind of playing a little bit of guess what's in Lars's head, but I want you to think about that for just a moment. Why is that so significant to have Running Sky, which is this fantastic guitar solo? Well, not fully a guitar solo, but very electric guitar heavy lead of basically Don't Forget. And yet it's also right alongside 3 friends, because the Fun Gang is hurrying and working together. And say, yes, specifically the whole working together in perfect harmony. I am thinking back to, for instance, it's like a song like Raise Your Bats, which was very much like, we're going to go get them. We're going to go like into the dark. Don't you fear. Running Sky, while not as aggressive, is very much go for it. We're here for the adventure. We're here for the fun. That music is playing right as these characters are working in perfect tandem to win, to succeed. It mirrors what Chris has already experienced in the past with Azrael and with Des. with Susie as the stand-in for Des, Ralsei as the stand-in for Azrael, and Chris being Chris. And Chris can now be totally part of that team. Either recapturing what it was once like, or finally living up to what it could have been like back in the day. And it's just it captures what it once was like to be there with Des. That is what's happening right there. And when I finally came to that realization, I'll admit I kind of got a little emotional. I was like, this is it. Like, Chris is finally living the dream of what they've been after this whole time, and they're getting it without Des or Azrael there. This is Chris in perfect tandem with their best friends, Susie and Ralsei. Holy cow, it mirrors the past. And it's why Des's music is so strong there in that moment, so hopeful, so go get him, so eager. It's beautiful, dang it. I see that Flower Man's next. He made a parody of it earlier today. Nice. Guys, it's about perfect harmony for teamwork against another perfect harmony of teamwork. Yes. Lauren says it's the last time before a breakup. I mean, yeah. I mean, we are kind of getting that really high note before things start all coming apart. But yes, indeed. Flower Man. Flower Man with his heart in the sand. It's a very neat, like, I don't know if there's really any deeper significance to it other than just like it's like where the song "Don't Forget" is hopeful and calming. Obviously, this has been ratcheted up; it's far more punk, and I think that Flowery is just kind of like matching that, being all like, "I know why you're here. I know what you're doing. I know what the prophecy is," and all of that. Like, Flowery and Ralsei are playing their own 4D chess while we as the player are like, what's going on? And Chris is like, please, no one figure out exactly what I'm doing. And so so I feel like the use of that music is just very evocative of the fact that Flowery's kind of in the know. And Flowery's like, look, I'm going to do absolutely everything I can to protect what I care most about, which is Asgore. You're going to continue to fight the way that you do because of Des. So let's see whose conviction is strongest. Flower Man with his heart in the sand, so he stands to watch the whole wide world. Lawrence, the main motif of Don't Forget fits well with Flowery, who repeatedly says the character should reject the prophecy and fight on. Like, raise your bat. Yes, very good right there, Kill Lawrence. Thank you. And then Dirk says, Plumber Man with a gun in his hand. Oh, Flowery walks down the middle of the street, his brim pulled way down low. All right. Obviously, your power. Why is that significant? Why is it significant to have? Don't forget right there. What it's all about. Dark Worlds, the power, the faint glow, the fact that faint glow's music is very similar to Don't Forget. Reminds us once again of the lyrics of the song, what it is that we're supposed to do, the promise. But I also think that in a certain meta way, having the leitmotif for Don't Forget play right here also kind of draws our attention to that this is very much a game. And as Chapter 5 starts bringing up even more and more, this is a game. And Susie at this point realizes this is a game. Or at least that the Dark World is like a game. And so, where's Des? Des is stuck in the code of the game. They're playing a game. The characters know they're in a game. Like that meta level has been breached. Now, this is an interesting one. This is a very interesting one. With hope crossed on our hearts. Murder Drones meets Jay is about to hit 7 million views. Well, that's really great for Murder Drones. So it's got the popularity going. I'm going to backtrack just a little bit right here with this. Now then, for hope crossed, for the hearts crossed with hope, what I want you to pay attention to is how there is, I guess the correct term for this is that is discordant, meaning that the leitmotif, the theme, is broken. It's like it's there, it's trying to come together, but there's something else breaking into it. I want you to pay attention to how the leitmotif is broken and what are the notes that are playing in between. And put into the chat what you think of when you hear that other music competing with Don't Forget in this next song. As you hear this, who or what do you think of is competing with Bess's theme? What's making her theme discordant? So drums, drum press. So we definitely have the drums kind of coming on in and interrupting it. Who is someone that we can associate with drums in Deltarune? Who's the character who plays drums? Now I'm being a teacher right here. At this point, I would, if this were a proper classroom, I would start like pulling out people's names. Like, okay, I'm Omega's here. Great to have you here, Omega. It says Susie's Hammer of Justice. Yes, Hammer of Justice, and she also plays the drums back in chapter 3. And who's the one who brings up that she's got hope crossed on her heart? It's Susie. And so what I like about that particular song is that Des is being interrupted by Susie. Susie is breaking through. And the fact that it's happening in chapter 4 is important because it's the chapter where Chris is faced with the opportunity to let Susie know the truth, or at least to confess their feelings to Susie. They have that opportunity, but they don't, because they're holding on to that promise that they've made. They are holding on to their quest to get Susie back. Well, not to get Susie back, but to get Des back. But Susie is the wrench in the machine. She's the wrench in the gears. And she's changing all of that. She's changing all of that by simply being who she is. And what is she? She's the girl with hope crossed on her heart. She's the love interest. She's the hero. She's the bully who's been redeemed. She's breaking through what was expected of her. And it's not that she and Des are at odds necessarily, but it's that this theme that's been your encouragement this entire time, this almost ever present reminder of Des, that this is all about rescuing her. There's now another character who's coming in and is changing things. The prophecy can be defied. The prophecy can be changed, can be beaten. And the person who's most determined to break it is Susie. And I think that's why I think that's what is happening here, storytelling wise, with the music. That Susie is changing everything. And so I really, really like that. Lorraine says, Susie, sorry, I was being a little coy. Hey, get out of the pond, Lorraine, get out of the pond. And I mean, it fits really well. Like, why do we hear this for the dark truth? Because this is the dark truth that will have to be faced in order to save Des. The fact that you're bringing on the roaring. And a variation of that same music is as you are defying the night and going up against the night in this particular soundtrack. Which then kind of ties together that Des is the night. We have a little bit of musical confirmation about that, which I think is neat. About the dark truth being revealed, and then as you then have to face the night, that same music is being played. Why is that music being played? Because you are confronting a very dark truth. What is that dark truth? That the person that you're trying to save is the very enemy that you're going against. Burn, burn, burn. And what I like about this is that as you've got the music of the hymn, which is very similar to Don't Forget, and say to the Majesty and pray we do not forget. So, I mean, this is a song that touches on the beliefs of the people in hometown, and then ties back around maybe to, okay, so why is it that Don't Forget is the way that it is? What if Don't Forget is Des's take on that hymn? She's changed up the words, but the music is similar. She's taking a song that Chris would know. It's something that they share in common, being at the same town, very likely going to the same church. And so she has appropriated the music of a comforting hymn, a hymn of hope and looking forward, and has taken that and changed the words then to be about their promise. Guy says, maybe I shouldn't have made Chris sleep through this. LOL. Oh, yeah, no, I made sure to go through I stayed awake through all the dialogue. I listened to the whole sermon. Now then, I love these next two tracks they're going to play right here. Piano that may not be played that well, and then the piano in the holiday manner. This music right here is the music that you have Chris play once you've collected all of the different bits of music from around the church's dark world, and you bring it together, and I think it's kind of open to interpretation. If the music that you're playing is the reminder to Chris, hey, Chris, remember what you got to do, or if it isn't, that this is music that Chris themselves wrote, or maybe that music that Des once upon a time wrote. Again, thinking about how Des already kind of changed the hymn, and that what is being played right here is, again, just that reminder of Des. So, and chances are, especially when we hear Chris play it on the piano in the holiday manner, that this is Chris playing that song to remember Des by. So let's pay attention to it. Yeah. So I think when we take those two together, it's the fact that there is actual. I take this as confirmation that there's actual music in world that Chris associates with Des, either because of the "Don't Forget" song, or it's music that they played with Des or that Des herself wrote up. We don't quite know exactly what it is, but that there is indeed a musical, real world, or say in world confirmation of Des. This is Des's music. And so I like that we're getting that confirmation yet again. It just further solidifies how important she is, her prevalence within the plot, how important she is to Chris. And then we then jump on over to this fun little track right here. Castle Fun. Because if you're going to, because, I mean, why not? Des was a spunky gal. Spunky is funky. Also, if you ever have the opportunity to dance with large digital cats, you better take that offer. You better take that. If you have the opportunity to dance with large digital cats and you do not deserve great happiness in your life. Now, a lot of what's going to play here next is how there are these subtle places in chapter 4 where we get more reminders of Des, and I think that this works really well since chapter 4 it has a very strong emphasis on the past. That the past is important. The past helps to inform what's going on in the present. I mean, kind of why we study history, but specifically to make sense of why these things are happening. Because we, as the player, we're honestly in the dark about a lot of things that are going on, and so chapter 4's music, its subtle use of "Don't Forget," is really there to help clue us in to again why Chris is doing everything that they're doing, and tie us back on into the past. That whatever happened with Des is incredibly important, not just to Chris's actions though, but to why everything else is going down. And this is then actually emphasized once we learn what Asgore's been up to in chapter 5, and we get to see now the scope and intensity of this plan to bring Des back. All of this for just this one girl. Man, what a gal she must be for all of these things to be going down just to save one person. Guy says, Trashy Trio for some reason has it too. The freedom motif, I mean, yes. Oh, yes, the freedom motif. I can't wait to talk more about that in the future. Now, for this one, from the song From Now On, I am so happy going back to this and checking this out because the music confirms one of my theories that I had from like over a year ago about how the battle with Miss Mizzle was going to point to a flower, a blue flower that was going to help us learn more about romance, or hopefully more about Des and Azriel. Now, Blue didn't actually tell us more about Des and Azriel, but Blue really emphasizes love. And and when we look back again in the past and everything, what was happening with Des and Azrael, I think one of the reasons why to Chris it's so important to save Des is because, as Chapter 5 confirms, Des and Azrael started dating. They had totally fallen in love. They were no longer just friends. They had fallen for each other. That romance changed so much. And that's one of the things that I will go into detail with for my video tomorrow, is that the fact that Des and Azrael began dating, and that it's now been confirmed that that's what they did. They did get together. That actually changed everything for Chris and Noelle. And it encouraged the two of them to grow even closer than before, setting up the potential for a romance between them and how their relationship turned out to be what it is. And the fact that it's Chris and Noelle's relationship that is so essential to pushing the plot of Deltarune forward. It might not feel that way so much right now, especially because Susie's the one who's there. Susie is the force of change in Deltarune. She absolutely is. But the relationship between Chris and Noelle is absolutely vital to the plan to bring Des back. And that relationship only ever became what it is now in the game thanks to how Des and Azrael, really unintentionally, but still very profoundly, changed the relationship between Chris and Noelle by getting together and dating. And there's a lot that is mixed up with that, with how exactly did that go down, and everything that we get from the battle with Miss Mizzle, which hears her music, her whole talk about knights, about courtesy, honor, how you're supposed to be a lady and everything. It's not just simply, like, la-di-da, I'm supposed to be a princess, that's how princesses are supposed to act. But it is it's a wink, it's another wink and a nod. Interestingly, what's going to go down with Pink if you do her battle, also at the dynamic between Chris and Susie, and how Susie views Chris's flirts, because Chris has now by now been flirting so often that the true meaning, the true romance that Chris intends behind those flirts is no longer reaching the way that they intend. But it's also kind of reminiscent of whatever rocky path it took for Des and Azrael to get together, because subtly in the background there's various details that hint that Des and Azzy didn't just one day say, hey, guess what, I like you, oh, you like me back, sweet, let's get together. But that it was probably a bumpy road getting there. Bagman says, Murder Drones pilot is about to reach 90 million views. That's amazing that it's continued to grow so much even after its finale. Good for Murder Drones. Also, I really like the heroic way that this leitmotif is brought in for this particular encounter. It very much emphasizes that knight to princess dynamic. How Chris is, as the knight, out to go save Des, but also how there is that dynamic between Chris and Noelle that kind of mirrors that. But then there's also the dynamic between Chris and Susie, which also kind of adds a little bit of that flavor. And so it's a fight that really should get thinking. It's not just oh, sweet, here's an optional boss you can battle, but everything to do with Miss Mizzle should really get you thinking about the relationships and culture. And the music helps to emphasize that point. And then to hear Des's theme again in the fight against the Titan just really makes sense. Because, well, you're now at one of the worst moments, my dude. Remember who you're doing it for. Continue to struggle onwards. And maybe it's also indicative of who unleashed the Titan. Yes. But the music works really well for this fight as well when we recall what the lyrics to Don't Forget All. about there's still a light that's shining in, that there's a light inside your soul that still there's a light inside your soul which is still shining in the cold. It's this light. It's this light that Chris can tap into that gives them the ability to continue struggling on in this quest to save Des. And so we see a fulfillment of those lyrics here in the fight against the Titan, which is why it's appropriate to have Des's light motif show up. It is the fulfillment of that promise. Now, an interesting thing here for the song Until Next Time, it's another moment where the theme, don't forget, is discordant. It's fun, it's trying to come together, but it's like it's choppy. We're only getting little beats here and there, and then something else comes in. It's another moment that's indicative of that something has changed. Because by the end of chapter 2, yes, Chris has opened up another dark world, but the conversation that Chris gets to have with Susie, the time that they get to spend with Susie, makes them falter. It's like, whoa, Susie really is my friend. The crush that I've had on this bully now for all this time, it's actually kind of paying off. Oh no, what does this mean? Oh no. And it says Guardian has drum beats too, which may be just a coinky-dink, maybe not, but it is also important to bring out, Lorraine. I think there's something important to pull out, is that the Titan fight, because I've been focusing a lot on Des, December Holiday all throughout this live stream, and her relationship with Chris, but the fight against the Guardian is also a battle that brings out more of who Susie is and who she can become, and Ralsei as well. Remember that Ralsei, like for the first time since acknowledging that sometimes you have to fight, he is on board. He is ready to fight, and he unleashes against the Titan. And also Susie defies fate by doing something that's just so totally Susie, picking up Chris and dunking both of them through the Titan's face. It's such a Susie thing to do. And so the fight isn't just simply emphasizing Chris and Chris's journey, but also the fight against the Titan exhibits the intense change that's happening in Ralsei and kind of marks a real turning point, because Ralsei as a character is going to be far more intense and expressive going forward after that fight. Also, Susie has defied fate. Susie has taken the story into her hands and really has shown that, again, she's the force for change. She is the hero. And oh man, it's just, I know that there's plenty of people who don't really like the fight against the Titan. They feel it's a little too repetitive. They felt it lacked a lot of the personality of fights like the fights against Queen or Birdley, Spampton, Jevil, or against Tenna. It just feels so impersonable, but I mean, that kind of makes sense because that's what the Titan is. It's not a character that we can interact with. It's just sheer unrestrained id and subconscious taking violent, destructive form. So instead, the fight really is more about how the characters, our three heroes, change and become who they are meant to be. That by the end of chapter 4, it is clear that these three are heroes. And I really, really love that about the fight. And I think that's something that just too many people, unfortunately, don't quite get. But yeah, it feels like the song is stuttering as it's trying to get going. But it works. It works because of how everything is changing, thanks to chapter 2. All right, we're coming here close towards the end of the video. We'll wrap up the live stream, I think, shortly after that. Yeah, so there's just one more theme that Isaiah added, which is that Big C board has something that almost sounds like the leitmotif. All right, so highly recommend if you guys want more, because Isaiah has done more with Deltarune, that you go check out their channel. Again, there should be a link for that in the description of the video. But yeah, so there, so yeah, so there we have all of the different moments for Don't Forget in the game, and what it could all mean. Gillen says it's late for me on a work night, so I'll say good work as always, and I'm looking forward to your video tomorrow. Keep up the hard work and let us know when we can catch you next time. Well, thank you, Kiel Lawrence, for being here tonight, and I hope that you stay safe and stay well. The next live stream should take place on Friday. The reason why I changed things up to Thursday this week is because I didn't realize until earlier this week that my family was going to celebrate my niece going to Japan a little day earlier than I expected, and I've got also friends coming in to help celebrate that. And so I was like, well, friends from out of town that I haven't seen in a while, I'm going to make sure that my evening is freed up for that. So hence the swap to today. But next week should be on Friday. Though it will be a little bit later next Friday, because I will also be going to a cultural dinner on next Friday, at least for part of it. I'll most likely be bringing Käsespätzle. Oh, it's so delicious. German dish. Well, thank you, Kiel Lawrence. But yeah, so to bring it all together, what we've gotten with by looking at all of these different instances of Don't Forget being used, it's so incredibly clear that Des is a prevalent force within the game. It's really interesting because she's a character that we know very little about. You actually know far more about who Azrael is in canon of Deltarune than we actually know of Des. And yet she is someone who's so important because she is the motivation for Chris to doing what they're doing. On top of that, Des was a massive influence, not just on Chris, but also on her sister Noelle. And we see how that has shaped who Chris and Noelle have become, as well as the choices that they make. And it gives us some insights as well into who Des was, as being a spunky punk goth chick who did a lot of sports, did a lot of music, wrecked a lot of her instruments and sports equipment, but also was someone who was very adventurous, someone who took the fight to the enemy, but also had very likely a much softer, kinder side to her as well. A friend, someone that there's a lot of memories attached to, and that she, much like Azrael, was a force within Chris's life. And that there's something so admirable, so beautiful about her, not just like physically speaking, but as a person, as what she meant to Chris, that Chris is willing to go so far out of their way to endanger the entire world just to save her. And so it gives us this fantastic impression of this character who we have yet to truly meet. And when we do finally get the chance to meet her, what Toby Fox has done, and I want to draw a comparison to Undertale. I think Toby Fox has learned from Undertale. Think about the introduction of Azrael when in the true pacifist route. You get uh, when when Flowey takes control of all the souls and all the monsters, and then reveals himself to be Azrael. And it's like, and Azrael's like, I'm your best friend. I remember playing through that for the first time and just having this absolutely emotional reaction. I was like, wait, what? Who on earth are you? And this is then the way that Toby had written that entire encounter, that Azrael understands who you are as a person for having made the choices that you did in order to get to that particular encounter. You had to have chosen certain things, you've had to have thought certain things, and as a result, you are primed to have this encounter with Azrael and have truly an emotional experience. But it's one that, in a way, is kind of forced, because while there are clues leading to Azrael's reveal, he's not a force. Like, Azrael himself is not a force that is very prevalent within the story up until a certain point. Flowey is, but Flowey isn't Azrael per se. Flowey is the combination of Kara and Azrael put together into that flower. And 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 so what I think Toby Fox is doing here is that rather than springing Des on us, like, oh my gosh, this is Des, this is who Des is. Wow, oh wow, so emotional, so something, and then we move on and we think more about other characters because those are the characters that we've developed relationships with throughout. I think Toby Fox has realized that if he wants to really, really make you feel something for Des and feel connected to Des when that moment finally comes for her to be revealed, that it's not just enough to have characters drop some important dialogue moments here and there about her, but that it's also that we come to feel her presence and feel her personality through the music. And the music communicates a lot to us about her spunkiness, her violent tendencies, her go get 'em attitude, her kindness, friendship, romance, and the potential of that was reached of these friends in the past working together in tandem, like what we get with Sky running, just or not Sky running, but running Sky. You get this heroic, dashing, confident, exciting rendition of "Don't Forget." That if anything, I feel like that truly captures what Des represented to Chris and to Azrael as a friend, as a fellow adventurer. And so these emotions, these ideas, these implications, these memories, all of that is communicated through the music. And it's not just that, but we also get how the music is changed and shaken, how in some cases it's even broken by the influence of other characters, specifically the influence of Susie, who really challenges Chris in a good way, and how she makes Chris wonder if this is really right what they're doing, how this music is broken by the presence of the Titan, and how the music heralds the dark condition that Des finds herself in the music that accompanies the dark truth, and really confronting the night as the night tries to pummel Chris back. So yeah, I really like how Toby has managed to communicate so much to us through the music, and it is an incredibly rewarding experience if we keep going back to the music time and time again as we play our way through these chapters, as we learn from chapter to chapter, go back and then see, holy cow, Des has been in this since the beginning. And so that's one of the reasons why I think that when we finally get to her reveal, she's going to feel way more familiar to us than she would otherwise have been. And I feel like Toby's learned that lesson, after making Undertale. So if there's any then good lesson to take away from this over 2 hour rant and analysis, music is a very powerful storytelling tool. And I personally wish that I was a better that was a better not I'm not a musician, but I do singing. I sing in a choir for at my church, and I wish I knew music better because I think that would then help with being able to know how music can be applied in such a way to really bring out all of these different emotions. When you tell a story through a moving medium, like a video game or a movie or a show, the music is there as an accompaniment to help to emphasize feelings, to guide the audience, to help them to better understand a scene or to resonate with the scene or with its characters. And that music can help us to recall moments and to recall information immediately. Things that a book and a comic can't immediately do. Like, I think that fans of certain books and certain comics have music that they immediately can associate with certain stories or with certain scenes. And as a writer, there are probably songs that you immediately associate with a scene that you're writing. Like for me, holy cow, if I could get away with this and not have a copyright strike on the channel or have this video blocked or whatever, I would play the song "Release Me" by Two Steps from Hell. That song is the absolute inspiration for a scene in a book of mine, and it is such an incredible song that works so well with what I had planned for that scene and even shaped how I wanted to write it. So music is a great way to help. Music can just do so much in terms of guiding the audience, but also guiding the creator. One of the things that I would highly recommend to you is think about how music can help to move your story. If you're like me and you're writing long form, you're just writing books, think about what songs can help you to focus on how you want to write certain scenes and try to capture the emotion of those scenes or the subtext of those scenes or whatever it is that you're looking for. Music can help you to do that. If you're someone who's working on a game, working on a movie, working on a show idea, then think about how music is meant to complement the images that you're showing, the information that you're conveying, and how can music be attached to those characters, to those themes, to those ideas, to those messages in such a way that when that music is played, your audience is immediately cued in to what they need to know, to how they need to feel. And it gives you further control over the narrative. So there's a whole lot more. There's obviously way more that can be said about this by people who actually know far more than I do, who can speak more competently to that. But what I highly recommend is that you look more into how music helps to inform a story and guide a story, uplift that story. Because we're seeing this absolutely with Deltarune. And I'll leave off here with the promise that I am going to release a video about the leitmotif. It's going to take a little while to get there because there's a couple of other videos I want to do. Like I've got an Asgore video in the works. And I also have a video that I want to do specifically about Pink to kind of set up the video about the leitmotif. But that one, when we get to that, oh boy, I think it might just reshape how you view Deltarune. So, with all that being said, everyone, I'm going to end it there for tonight. Thank you so much for being here with me and allowing me to have this moment to just talk about Deltarune for over 2 hours and just gush about it and talk about music, even play a little bit of music. Woohoo! If this is your first time being here, thank you for hanging around the whole time. You ready for my drop of the Desreal analysis video tomorrow? And if you'd like to further support what we do, then check out the books that we've published. The links for them are in the description below. Otherwise, everyone, thank you so much for joining me tonight on this live stream. Have a good morning, evening, day, wherever you are at. And until the next video, y'all, tschüss.